Okay, apologies that this took a little longer than I'd anticipated. A couple of things going on here. So these are the Spry update notes for version 1317, which was a quick update on 1315. So this is the update notes for both. But basically, the big one that we're going to be talking about here is the new layer functionality that's been added to Spry. So being able to import layers in directly, including triangulation type layers, solid type layers, wireframe type layers, into Spry as a design layer, and then being able to then take those design layers and import them into Spry tables directly. So just going to be running through what that looks like, and there's going to be more to come in this space in terms of what it adds for the future. But for the time being, I'm just going to run you through what that looks like. So in the design window now, in the layers section, I've already got a layer here that's been imported. This Deswik demo, as in our demo model, that's in a DCF. So I'm going to right click on a folder, or you can just right click on the layers and you can import either Deswik layers and Micromine triangulation. So this is part of the new functionality in this version. And if you're familiar with either of those importers, then you're going to be familiar with the menu that pops up next. So we're going to have a look at this one. And basically from here on out, the importer is very, very similar to what you'll already be familiar with. So we'll click next. Now I've already got my attributes matched to design attributes, but one of the other cool things that's popped up in the previous version to this one is from the, and I'm not going to run you through this type of importer. There's other information on the Deswik importers and Micromine importers, but if we click next, we have this import all attributes. So rather than you having to spend time creating attributes for each time you do this for the first pass through, what you can do is you can basically skip this screen, go next, and select import all attributes, and then prune what you get at the end rather than having to create everything individually. So it'll actually create all of the attributes for the layer that you've got. So we'll let that run through and show you what that looks like. So there are all my dumps. Now, if you haven't done anything with design triangulations in Spry, they're a little bit different to your scheduling solids in that you can actually select them individually. So part of the benefit, I suppose, of this is that you can very, very quickly make sure that your solids are good to actually import. And you can keep multiple versions of your solids if you want to. So depending on how much room they take up and how much history you want to keep, you can actually keep different versions of reserves within your Spry model for historical reasons, and then pull them into your deposit tables potentially as needed. If you want to start playing around with the visibility of these by their attributes, if you've never used attributes before, you can select any loaded layers in the command bar. So you click on the little arrow, you select the layer that's loaded, you select the attributes that you're interested in, and then you select any additional properties that you might like to see. So maybe the type of, if you've got more than just solids, and you click refresh, and you can select each of the records individually. Now that one, I think it's supposed to just show all, but so you can actually just very quickly play around with them, and if you want to, use the properties window, change some colors, and if we go back to get rid of this for the moment. So let's load up the deposit table, and here's one I prepared earlier. So we've also got some polygons and a few other things that have come in, but what we're going to do now is have a look at the process of importing from these layers into a table. So once again, very familiar menus. So at the moment, we'll just pop open the deposit table and show you that it's empty. Okay. So from this deposit, if we just fire that up really briefly again and have a look at a single record, it doesn't really matter which one. Look at its properties. You can see that it's got some imported waste volume as well as positions to pull it into on the table. We can use those properties very basically identically to how we use the regular Deswik and Micromine wireframe importers. But we get two new options. So there's from design layers, which uses layers that are in the current model. And there's from design layers in Spry model. We may rename these so that it's a little bit more clear, but from design layers means this model, And from design layers in Spry model actually means you can use a different Spry model. So if you actually just want to extract out design layers from a different model because you want to keep multiple versions, maybe you've got a Spry model for your design and then a separate Spry model for your scheduling in really large reserve sets, that might be a way to keep your data separate and keep things running smoothly. If we select design layers, because the behavior will be identical, we can then select any design layers that we've got. In this example, I'm going to pick the deposit. If you're familiar, once again, with the Deswik and Micromine importers, settings are saved, so you don't have to go through the mapping process again. So once you go through this mapping process with the same layer name, you'll find that it matches the same way each time, so I don't have to go through and remap everything. But other than that, it's basically identical to the regular importer. So it's just a way for you to there's different reasons, and you may want to manipulate some of the values. You may just want to double check that those values are good before you go through the process of actually updating your table, which is a little bit more of a source of truth for your schedule than just a simple design layer. But at the end of that, demo model data is in, and yeah, good to go. So that's the major change from this version of Spry. There are a couple of extra filters in the design command panel if you've been using it, and a couple of little minor annoyances with the recent design button menu. But that's it. I'm going to follow up with another video on a couple of tricks to deal with targets in Gantt charts. So stick around for that. But otherwise, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.